permutation, and then the K. Okay. Is everyone good? Williams' evidence interrogates the affirmative and formative actual representations at the level of emotion, the way in which scientific representations impact the extinction theory necessarily create an affect which allows for politicians to take irrational behavior. It's putting vexes about the risk society. Now, politicians in reaction to catastrophes will do things like try and centralize cities and locations so that they can police the boundaries of the city. But in all honesty, that makes us more likely to be damaged by quote-unquote near-Earth objects such as an asteroid. They have no piece of evidence which speaks to the question of emotion or affect and the way that their representations ultimately influence politicians. In fact, is only amplified by the Tracy Harris evidence, which indicates there's no linear relationship between scientific productivity and the actual political actions that we take into account, because politicians do not understand the technical science that actually is engaged in within scientists, which means that they will take what they understand and try and use that to further their own political agenda. Or Virilio evidence actually is a historicization which answers back their literary criticism argument, because it indicates that the Cold War is whenever the research concerning asteroids actually was proliferated. It's no coincidence that we use that because we had a desire to actually construct and build up our communities. They have conceived the argument that desire necessarily constructs reality, and the desire also operates through framing. Whenever you desire a particular form of community, then you will produce research that makes it appear that way, because appearance necessarily constructs reality. Both of the focus and space arguments where we are taking out their internal link between the education they provide in this round and the type of political motivation that they gain, which means that we attack it at a level that their evidence does not actually assume. Now, and also policymaking is impossible and positivism. This is Parston in 2004. The positive theory of rational activation protecting rationality representation of rational decision making is problematic for elimination of the rest account of political context and emphasis upon participants to the false solutions as universal truths we discovered. This is positive epistemology is not adequate for policy analysts, many truths constructed and articulate false problems and solutions. Human blind, multifaceted, plain nature of policy making process that produce knowledge. Now, the heads of the topics across our Burke evidence, our evidence indicates their hegemony arguments rely upon and framing of the rest of the international arena as a series of competitors for us to attempt to crowd out. We posit ourselves as the metaphysical center. However, whenever you have a hammer, all you can see is nails. The rest of the world is seen as competitors that we have to try and crowd out. Means we can only reveal themselves as enemies for us to annihilate. His own talking about rationality. Rationality simply becomes the telos. It becomes the framing, organizing principle by which we judge whether other countries are competitors or not. It's proven by their Kugler evidence. The way that it describes South Korea and Taiwan is that they do not want to engage in dialogue. The reasoning is because they are they are resentful little states that just want to lash out against North Korea and China. Sort of responsible that they displace onto them is a strategy for trying to make rationality appear good whenever it's only defined negatively according to our hearts, so we can make ourselves look good. That is the thesis that our C members, they have conceded their own evidence. We are in fact turning rational choice theory. Smith in 2007, their School of Economics, he's recognized as rational agents who always act in such ways to maximize their own interest. They call rational choice theory. The losers seek desire and interest, the claim to proper context. You need to have interest you can pursue in a rational manner, but interest is possibility only within the context of physical formation. If you are capable of pursuing interest in a rational manner, first of all, because your desire of themselves the best physical formation that makes it much possible your desires have been constructed, assembled, and arranged. What we desire is social formation, and in this sense, desire is always positive. One of the problems with political philosophy is why do we people prefer the subject to separately for the salvation? Why do we have such a stake in investing in such a system that comes to repress us? Not to mention your so to speak nature is simple because you desire the rational way in which people pursue this interest, but underneath that you find desires, investment desires, so they're not confused with investment of interest. Now, the premonition debate at the top and across the social organization and political activity ultimately are governed by a center, or not governed by a center like the state, or an organizing principle like rationality. And instead, immigration is an assemblage that because of whatever dominant, that only acts because of whatever dominant desire has won out, which from a series of drives, the act obfuscates this fact, instead desiring that the USFG is a central political rational entity. They desire rationality to be a guiding principle for action. This is Oedipalization par excellence, constructing a particular mode of thought such that people internalize that and discipline themselves to act what they deem to be rational. But rationality has no objective relationship to reality, because rationality itself is only a byproduct of social situation. This conceding that desire produces reality is devastating. It means that we control the only internally to impact into alternative solvency, because the case proves that there is no governing psychological structure. People are socially situated beings, which it's impossible to have one governing psychology, because even what is deemed rational in a particular culture necessarily is different from The cultural relativism proves this argument, which means that if people are situated beings, the only thing we can analyze is how desire functions. That is the only thing that actually motivates for a people to come together in a way that can organize what they call political activity. Also, the affirmatives, they desire for the usages and actors, as well as rationality, the arguments split above, which means that all that does is that it creates statecraft, and the reality that we currently exist in, that desire for the world out there, becomes manifest through our desire to actually create statecraft. Here, we become little Eichmanns, little bureaucrats, who believe that we need to take out the functions of the state. Doty makes this very clear when he talks about people like rangers in South Texas who want to beat up immigrants. They take on the functions of the state because they desire a centralized state that can actually police the border more accurately. This is the only example that makes any sense of the context of desire for how they would directly provide desire in a way that would move towards moves like the Tea Party, which are anti-immigrants. This is uniquely true in the context of their hedge advantage. That was all the arguments on the case debate. It proves that they just try and blend into the herd. This is also proven by all of their utilitarianism arguments. The greatest good will always become the greatest American good. The greatest good for the rational entities that will always be negatively juxtaposed to those who are irrational. The herd necessarily is an orientation of ressentiment that destroys our ability to affirm life, because we can only affirm what we are negatively in relationship to others. Our existence is based upon destruction and annihilation of the world of the affirmative, because just linguistically speaking, we can only define the rational by the irrational. This is uniquely true in the context of their uniquely linked terms all of their Derrida arguments, but the infinite value of life should outweigh, because this is a prior question of what the ballot should actually have. If they're really consequentialism is good, all you should be concerned with is the consequences of the ballot. It also is an internal link to turning ressentiment as the foundation of turning all of their immigration and inclusion arguments that was all explained above. And the second link argument, I don't know how what their answer is, specifically to the role playing and creating debate as surveillance at a distance. They necessarily posit you as the consular who has the sovereign ability to threaten the immigrant with revocation of their visa unless they affirm, unless they necessarily increase and participate in an increase hegemony, unless they are productive for these measures. This necessarily is an impact chart. It indicates it's bad scholarship. Our torpid evidence indicates that it's ahistorical and necessarily feels a scholarship that just takes the state for granted, which destroys our ability that our legal evidence indicts to actually understand transnationalism and how that comes to transform the political community in such a way as to literally render the state irrelevant. There is no central state that governs the international body. Instead, there is only a conglomeration of desires, and also the visa can necessarily never be incorporated. This is Lewis 2009. Policy only gains powerful governments rejects authority and extreme expertise. The implementation of policy works together with the surrounding discourses from the regime. The policy changes may possibly be social political prejudice, but they would neither challenge the government's authority nor would they challenge the way the discourses are generated. Such as policy change could never address the fundamental problem of the regime, which is embedded in the self-functioning mechanism of governmental power. This is the reason as to why even if the alternative produces a way in which we can include immigrants, because we increase the desire to include the immigrant, we would still not be able to do that within the context of the regime. Now, go to the candidate at the top. They say extinction outweighs. However, their question of being is one of the less upon self-preservation, which necessarily constructs the subject in a particular way, but we are ontologically criticizing how you come to understand the subject as such. You construct the subject as the state, which means your self-interest becomes the state's self-interest. Now, which also means that we have a risk that we turn the affirmative. It's a prior question. We do not concerning ourselves with if they win any of their advantages, because our argument is that the alternative is a better way to create desire for, and we're going to see consequentialism. That argument was made above, but if consequentialism is true, you should only concern with the consequences of the ballot, not a theoretical relation to fiat. However, framework should be a substantive question, because all frameworks necessarily are arbitrary, and especially under the question of aft framework, which means under aft choice, which means that this should only be resolved in the question of substance as well. As you have said that the USFG should do something. We have said that debating about what the USFG should do is bad. That is, if anything, the burden of rejoinder. The fact that the USFG is in the topic only proves that that should be the most predictable negative ground. It's not infinite frameworks. It's an alternative framework to the one that is the aft, which is competitive, because you should be able to do that. Your Gilson evidence actually is only your Gilson evidence actually is bad. It says that statistical analysis is bad. This Gilson actually juxtaposes academic information like science and says that should not be what we debate. We should debate about politics, which means they don't access this evidence. The next argument is that positivism is good and critical to democracy promotion. It's critical to democracy in the abstract. However, the alternative is a better way to democratize, because it allows for us to take the helms of politics by affirming that our individual choices necessarily create an affect, which is the only thing that actually contributes to the conglomeration of desire. That we are the most democratic, and we don't reject knowledge in the abstract. We only try and point out the ways in which their deployment of knowledge is necessarily. You can prove that we can receive the world in a good way, but the act has no defense of their ability to communicate that to policymakers in a way that is linear. Now, groups that evidence, their Tesla, and their evidence is exactly what our government evidence is indicted the apps to stop the war campaign. They ultimately only become a moralizing tirade to include the immigrant by deploying extinction impacts in such a way as to trade off with the ability to actually question the democratic process in the first place. Also, this evidence does not come to grips with the affect. Knowledge is never neutral, but instead knowledge and power are co-productive. Produces an affect which is not linear. Proven across 6 to 1. You see what asked Stephen. So your argument that you want the judges to go do the plan? No, we can't control what he motivates out in the outer world. All he has is affect. We have the only piece of evidence that speaks in question of affect is to loop hide in 2002. Inspection processes making the border control method and writing practices to constantly to control method of domination, inspections, procurement system of regulatory registration, and documentary accumulation. These practices cause individuals to come to an object, chronological person, knowledge, false, dimension, overall phenomenon. The utilization of collective racial calculation, individuals to distribution, compilation. proposition. This knowledge is used to understand the preliminary ends of coast by different immigrant records function as elements of largest point systems and point of immigration scholarship. Scholarship critically about. I'm going to finish it. Just finish from how. Yeah.
So would you defend that the state is bad in all instances, that the state has never done anything is good?
No, our argument is, actually our legal evidence is really good. Actually, Puigo and Torpy both say that we're not making an historically universalizing argument only about the current political context of how the state operates in relationship to
migration. So currently the state does nothing good?
Currently, there is no state. Our argument is that what you call the USFG
there's at least
is
a group of people that pretend.
There are bureaucratic organizations, like agencies and stuff like that.
That actually influence the rest of society.
Right, but our argument, yeah, totally. But our argument is that, well, I don't know if I'd agree that they influence it in like a linear top-down fashion, but our argument is that yes, there are bureaucratic organizations, but there's no such thing as the United States federal government that can will something like a plan. And to believe that, no. Doty actually makes a really good distinction that says to say the state, to say the federal government is a subject, is the opposite of understanding how desire necessarily informs bureaucracy.
So does that imply if I say the Dallas Cowboys, even though it's just a collection of people with a name, is that also like alienating or whatever?
We don't give a shit about the Dallas alienation.
My point is, if it's just a name for a particular group of people, why is that relevant?
Our argument is that you said the United States federal government, that's not just the name for the bureaucracies. Our evidence indicates there's historical baggage with assuming that the state is a unitary rational entity that can create policies like just say, get rid of visas. The second part of that is just the idea of willing it.
Okay, I want to ask about something else. In the epistemology debate, you made an argument as to why it's impossible to use positive epistemology in the context of policymaking. How do we determine what is...
Washington card?
Yes. So how do we determine what is true or what we should do?
That evidence actually is specific to rational choice theory.
Yes, okay. So if humans aren't rational, what are they?
Well, our argument is that humans are socially situated. Humans are rational in the sense that we make choices that we believe are rational, but not rational in the sense that your evidence assumes that they think about things and process them in a way that relates to objective truth. We say that humans are socially situated beings that make decisions and act based upon whatever dominant desire exists within their community.
Consistent with the affirmative? When did we say humans only act based off this one underlying rational desire?
You read a conglomeration of evidence in the 1AC that says that states act rationally because states will, have
actually you can use history to try to make predictions.
Let me explain. Your impact evidence indicates that hegemony, unipolarity has less incentives for great power wars.
Just because in history, unipolarity
let me explain.
No
the idea of
incentive
theory is actually probably a bigger link than just rational choice theory in the abstract.
It's not even incentives. It's just
it uses
in
the
history,
phrase,
this is how it was. This is how
it uses the phrase unipolarity offers less incentives for great power war.
But if humans aren't rational, how do you know the alternative will create a better world? If you can't, I guess, know how they'll interact with other people.
We didn't say you don't know anything.
I mean, these cards get pretty close. What do you know then? How can you know anything?
We say that you should not be able to we say that you cannot deploy your asteroid sciences in a linear fashion to create politics. We've never said you can't know anything. Truth would probably operate eminently like
that. Okay, so if we do know an asteroid is coming down to kill everyone, what do we do about it? We can't translate into politics. How do we have social
We're not saying in the abstract what should happen. We're only saying your debate, your deployment of that is not productive.
Mom's not productive.
Okay, the K line by line, starting with finishing reading the piece of evidence already agreed with.
We've actually just needed 7 sentences in this individual.
Did you read this one, Colonel? Okay, I guess this, then the perm page real quick.